Hi guys, if you're new here, my name is Sam and I make videos about makeup, chronic illness, and whatever I want. It is August, which means it is time for a new eyeshadow palette collection video, which is what I'm going to do today. We like to preface this with the fact that I have a lot of eyeshadow. It's my favorite thing to collect beauty-wise. More eyeshadow than anything else in my collection. 2, there is going to be some Jefferson Starship items. I'm gonna timestamp that, so if you don't want to see that, you can skip ahead. With that, let's just dive right into it. Okay, I do have my drawers separated by brand, so I'm just gonna go top to bottom, and my first drawer is ColourPop. Oh, I would also like to add that some of these palettes are quite new to my collection, so they either haven't been used because I had a back injury and haven't been able to use them, or they've been used quite little. Like this one, it's all good. This sort of disappointed me because it looked slightly different online, and I don't know, it didn't perform as well as I would have liked. I want to give this a few more uses before I decide if I'm going to pass it along or not. It just wasn't what I wanted, and I have these colors in other ColourPop palettes, which you will see. Next up, I'm just going through what's on top is the Just My Luck palette. I have not taken these things off because I don't use these mirrors, as I can't see to use them. I have used this a few times and I really like these olivey shades. This is kind of, I don't know, maybe my least used green palette. I would like to get more use. I just did my declutter so I can see what stuff I use the most. And next declutter, I know I had some maybes in here. This is the Mulan Palette, which I like quite a bit. I'm not a fan of pressed glitters at all. I think they're kind of crappy, but I love the browns in here, like especially the cooler ones. And I think this, yeah, this is kind of like a Super Shock shadow, which I definitely like. Next, we have Strawberry Shake. I really like this palette quite a bit. This is an everyday kind of color story for me. I look quite good in like these rosy tones. Rose, pink, mauve. I tend to like the way I look in them. Next is Blush Crush. I love this one because it is a dupe for one of my favorite palettes, in my opinion, the New Nude by Huda. I think it's really close to like my most used colors in that, and it's much more affordable. And to go with that, we have New Mood, and you can see what I meant by that I have like similar tones, because a lot of these are in here as well as this, and some of these other purples I have in other palettes as well. So I'm going to give it another shot, but I'm not sure that this one will make the cut in my next declutter. This one is phenomenal. It's the Star Wars palette. I'm not sure if this is still available. I've used this a couple times, and I actually really like the neutrals in this. This shade and this shade are just so cool looking, but the quality of this is one of ColourPop's best, and the original Star Wars are my favorite, the original 3, so I just love this. Next, we have the Powerpuff Girls ColourPop. I don't think I've used this yet because it got kind of buried in my collection. I do like that it has a mirror, but I can't use those, so yeah, this is just fun. I was a massive Powerpuff Girls fan when I was a kid, him being one of my favorite characters. And as for which Powerpuff Girl I wanted to be, it was always Buttercup. We have Smoke Show. I think now it's called like Blowing Smoke, but when I bought it, it was Smoke Show. This, for me, replaced Naked Smoky because this is a better smoky palette. I don't do smoky eyes too often, but when I do, it is this one. This is great for like Halloween looks as well. Next, Main Squeeze. I have only used this twice. I got this for a dupe video because I would like to make a dupe of Blood Sugar, but I think this and Strawberry Shake have been discontinued, so kind of ruined that idea. Next, making mauves. I really like these cool mauve colors. Another thing that I think looks quite good on my skin tone. Orange You Glad is one of my favorite fall palettes. This color is actually probably my absolute favorite. I don't use this pressed glitter. I just don't like pressed glitters near my eye, but that is quite pretty. And my last ColourPop palette is the Disney Villains Misunderstood. I love this so much. I created one of my favorite looks with the blues and this black here. Fantastic. I especially love, I assume these are like Super Shock shadows because they perform very well. Next, we just have palettes where I only have one or two from the brand. So the first one is the Nautical Nonsense Wet n Wild Spongebob. I bought the whole box set when this came out, and I was actually quite surprised at the quality of this. There are a couple pressed glitters. I actually loved this shade, and I tried to use as many shades as possible in the look. I don't think you can get this anymore, but very glad that I got my hands on it. Next one is my only Violet Boss. It is the Sugar Crystals. I really like this. These are kind of just toppers, but they perform quite well. I love this color story in the spring specifically. It doesn't look very used because it isn't very used. I've mostly used these with other looks and a couple of these. It's a nice palette, but I wouldn't say Violet Boss is like my favorite formula. Next is Nabla. I have the Wild Berry Cutie palette. I really like this. I actually combined it with my other Nabla palette, which is the Dreamy palette. I got these half off during an Ulta sale, and they just go really well together, I think. And Nabla is a really nice formula. Next up, we have Pat McGrath. This is Dirty, first of all. The Divine Rose 2, or Mothership, what number is it? 8, Mothership 8. Oh my goodness. I love this. I'm actually wearing this today. Also, please excuse my nails. I am actually wearing these two shades. This in my crease and outer corner, this all over my lid, and this as a liner. This is a fantastic palette, and I got it as a birthday gift last year, and I just love it a lot. You can tell I use this shade quite frequently. It actually shows up a little darker on me than it is in the pan. It's a really nice pink peach. And then we have, what is this? Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity. I have to tell you, if you want to try Pat McGrath, do not sleep on the holiday palettes because they are fantastic. I'm upset that I missed last year's, but I got this one in 2020. And this I'm actually excited about because I missed out on the Star Wars palette. I think each of these, so like these 4 rows, were each a Star Wars palette, and I think these are either original or they came from something else, but I am very thrilled that I have it. My only complaint with Pat McGrath is they're sort of companion palettes for me because they're so shimmer heavy, and I prefer to use mainly mattes, but the quality is really good. Next up is this Nars Summer Solstice palette. This is my first Nars palette and has become one of my most used palettes since I got it like 2 months ago. I found it at Marshall's. This is great every day because I can't overthink it. I can use 2 mattes, pick a shimmer, 1 matte, pick a shimmer, be done with it. I even use this sometimes as a companion palette and grab like one of these 2 mattes and then a shimmer from something else. I really like it, and this makes me want to try more Nars eyeshadow. Then we have a Tom Ford quad, which is also dirty. This is the Honeymoon. I still have these little brushes in here because I don't know, they just look good. This is pretty but completely underwhelming. I got this as at the Estee Lauder outlet, the cosmetic company outlet or cosmetic company store. I don't remember what exactly it's called. And these are fine, but I just need to show you that I only paid $20 for this. So it's fine for $20. But these are $80. They're fine. They're not that special. I do like that this one's closer to a matte than these three, so you can kind of, but $80 is just too much. Now again, if you can find it for the $20 I paid, I do think it is nice enough as a companion palette to be $20. And you know, it comes in this fancy little jacket. On to Juvia's Place. First I have the Berries by Juvia's Place. I quite like this, especially the shade. You'll start to notice a pattern if you're new here about the shades I like. However, the Violets by Juvia's Place is one of my favorite purple palettes. I keep these fairly clean so they don't look super used, but this is fantastic. Sometimes I do reach for other purples to, you know, really get the monochromatic look I'm going for, but these are great, especially the shimmers. I really like them. And if you can catch these on sale, you can get them for like $6. This is my only Made by Mitchell palette. Yes, it comes in its own little thing. This is the Feet on the Ground palette. I got this because it's incredibly unique to my collection, and I love all these olive tones. I'm olive undertones, so like these just look fantastic on me. The quality is pretty good. This is not available here, so I had to get this on Beauty Bay. Next up is my Be Perfect Carnival 3 Love Tahiti Stacey Marie palette. I have only used this shade, I think. This got buried in my drawers, and I used a second one. I used both of these at some point. I need to make an effort to use this because I have no excuse to have not used it. Besides that, it just got shoved in a drawer and too much stuff on top of it. If you have not seen my big clutter video, I will link that up above. On to Morphe. The first is the original Jaclyn Hill palette with the original formula. So much that I had to like print the names up here. You can tell she has been loved. I still reach for this pretty often because I really like these tones. I don't know how well these still are. They feel good. Oh man, yeah, those have aged nicely. I cannot say the same about the next one. Now we have the Volume 2 Jaclyn Hill, which is the new formula, and I used this the other day. I used these tones, and these shimmers just do not do it like those last ones. I don't know, are any of these better? Okay, these ones are better. It must just be these. I'm not mad that it's mostly mattes because, like I said, I can reach for other palettes for a shimmer. I like mattes. I'm excited to get to these bright colors and see how they work. I got this super duper cheap. I think it was $10, so doesn't need to be perfect. And lastly, we have the Jamis Chinez palette. I kept this through the declutter because the shades I like still perform very well. Honorable mentions are Cape Cod, Bee, and Social Blade, I think. Those are my favorite. What is this one? Playground is a fantastic blue. Like, I love that. And on to Beauty Bay. We have the Wilderness palette. One thing that irritates me about Beauty Bay is like how short they have these palettes, but I think they've brought them in the larger formula or the larger palettes with the same color stories. I love this. I have only used this a couple times as well, but these olive greens get me. You know I love a warm tone, and these sparkles are just out of this world. Can you believe this palette is only $15, by the way? I definitely want to pick up more from Beauty Bay. And next we have my holy grail rainbow palette at this point. This knocked some people into the declutter because this is so good. I got the all matte one, obviously. These are so good. This makes me want to get more Beauty Bay palettes like these purples and the blues I used recently. Amazing. And you can get this on sale for incredibly cheap too, maybe like $13 or less. Amazing. Moving on to Melt Smoke Sessions. This palette has not gotten enough love from me. I can say that for sure. I got this because it released on my birthday, which is 4/20. And I've gotten lucky and mine haven't puffed up at all. So it is still usable. It has been used and loved, but not enough. Radioactive. I know this had mixed reviews, but I absolutely love the looks I have created with this. Like it's just phenomenal. I don't know why I'm swatching everything, but like those are legit neon, and they work better with a brush than they're swatching. If they still make that and you're interested in a neon palette, like highly recommend. I will say some people have issues with Melt, like their formula just doesn't work well for them. I have not had that experience. The 4/20 palette, I also bought, like, how cool is this, first of all? I also bought this because it has my birthday on it. It came out on my birthday. This is a fun fall palette. Like, think like Thanksgiving. It looks like Thanksgiving. I like that it's almost all mattes with the one shimmer. Again, it's easy for me to reach for other palettes if I want a shimmer. I want those mattes. A favorite, Gemini. Love this. Just love it. I hope this isn't hard pan. No, it isn't. I don't think. Anyway, I love this for a fall look as well. And I think it goes quite well as a companion to 4/20. We have the Vita Palette, which I have also not used as much as I should have. But it's beautiful. And now we have its sister. I have not used this because it literally just came like last week. I'm so happy that I have both now. Melt is definitely one of my favorite formulas, and then we have Amor y Mariposas. I wish I could speak another language. I also just recently got this, but I love the look I created, like with these nudes here. I did like these four. Very excited to use the rest. Now this is where we have like quite a few that I haven't used. This I just got, the BH Smitten in Switzerland. I found this at, where did I find it? Marshall's, TJ Maxx. I have used this shade, but I haven't used this whole palette. I don't tend to reach for these colors in the summer, but I'm excited to try it. Like BH Cosmetics has a great formula. Next, I have the whole Sweet Shop collection. This is Sugar Cone, which is one of my favorite nude palettes. Not that you could tell. I got these when they restocked like a month or two ago. When was that? I'm not sure. But I used all four of these mattes in the look I created. This gave me a look that I felt was very similar to what I wanted from the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. Next we have Orange Sorbet. I have not used this yet. Cotton Candy, also have not used yet. Pistachio. Oops. I'm excited to use that. But I have to say, the thing that worries me about these is some of these are very blue toned compared to the mattes. So we'll see how I feel about that. The Bubblegum. and cherry on top. Moving on to Too Faced. I got this the same time I got the Tom Ford. I truly just wanted this for the packaging, but I also like the color story. This is the Light My Fire mini palette. I love warm nudes and I love oranges. The Too Faced Gingerbread Spice. This still smells like, it's never smelled like gingerbread to me. It's always smelled kind of like Play-Doh, but I like the smell of Play-Doh. And then the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice. I have also not used this one as much as I need to. This is why you should declutter things you don't use, guys. That way you can see everything you have. My drawers are so much cleaner. Here's where we get into Jefferson Starship. So first we have the Androgyny palette, which this got swatched against a different palette that looked very similar, and this one won because the formula was just better. And then we have Blood Money, which is a nice green palette. I am never disappointed with his formula. Then we have Alien, which I'm sad this is discontinued. I wish he would have just repackaged it because this is very dirty and one of my favorite palettes, especially Probe. That shade. I'm not going to swatch it because I don't want to waste it. It's a fantastic color. I also like Space Cowboy quite a bit. This is Bloodlust, I think. I have a lot of feelings about this palette because I was expecting it to be a lot deeper and gothier based on how he explained it. The formula is great. It's just a color story that doesn't particularly inspire me by itself. So it's kind of a very bulky companion palette. We have Blue Blood, which also just narrowly squeaked by my declutter because I don't really use this entire top shade. There is a pressed glitter. I kind of just reach for the same couple of shades over and over again. But I'm considering like depotting the shades that I like out of that one and maybe this one just to kind of create a custom palette. This is Jawbreaker. Also was slightly on the chopping block until I swatched these and remembered how good they are. I really like Cotton Candy, Orange Juice, and Gumdrop. Next is Conspiracy. This is the whole thing. I hate this palette, as in I hate the layout. I hate the color story because there isn't one. The formula is great. This is another one I think I might depot and just arrange how I want it with other shades because this thing makes no sense to me. And then we have Mini Controversy, which is literally the same thing. Like, this palette is just nonsense, but these blues are really good, and I like this silvery shade a lot. This doesn't even show up on my skin, and neither does this, so there's that. And then we have Mini Breaker, which I am obsessed with. Oral is amazing, as is Slice. Two of my favorite shades. And then this is my favorite palette from this company, and it will be one of my favorite palettes, period. And it's surprising because it's not necessarily the reds that are my favorite, but these nudes, like, I don't know if you can see, like, how deep I have dug into this. I'm probably close to pan. This is my favorite nude shade. It is my favorite crease color. I also really like Tongue Pop. I will swatch these. They are so soft. Fantastic. Moving on to Lunar Beauty. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite brands. Moving on. Starting with the original Moonspell. I really like this. It's a great Halloween palette. I like that he does Halloween releases. It's pretty unique. Also, there is like a pink rosy shade named after me. Come on. But all of these shades are super cool and the mattes perform quite well. Moving on to my favorite, Strawberry Dream. Look at this packaging, first and foremost. But this has some of the best blues in my entire collection. These two blues are phenomenal. And then this blue diamond shade that like shifts blue. Isn't that awesome? And then Greek Goddess. This palette kind of surprises me because not all of these shades look like this outside of the pan. So there's been a few times where I've created looks with this going by the pan color and then the colors just don't really go together. Like I feel like this one is kind of warmer than it looks in the pan, at least on me. I don't know. I think it just is kind of a strange, like how, like this looks so much warmer to me. Maybe my eyes are just, I don't know. I feel like they just don't go perfectly together. It's a nice palette and I enjoy it. Clearly I have used it, but the color story always just kind of throws me off. Now we have Huda Beauty. I had the neon orange, and yes, I was part of that class action lawsuit. I love this because it is just a great neon palette. Performs much better with brushes. The shimmers aren't extraordinary, but I think this could go really well with the Melt Radioactive. These are not sold anymore for obvious reasons. We have the Nude Rich and the Nude Medium. These came close to being decluttered because I want the Naughty Nude, but they aren't quite similar enough, so I kept them because I really, really like these. I know Huda upsets some people because everything is pink toned, but as an olive toned girly, much like her, I love it because pink tones are my favorite, which brings us to New Nude, which has been my ride or die favorite palette since I've gotten it. You can tell she has been loved. Even the pressed glitters. I don't even like pressed I don't even like pressed glitters, but you can tell I have even used the crap out of those. I do not like this concealer shade. I wish she would have just put another, like this tone, but an eyeshadow, because this one is quite pink. If she would have just put like an actual cream or something, or even a tan. Yeah, so I don't use that, but this will always be a favorite. And yeah, I've had this for years and I never take these things off. Huda Rose Gold Remastered. I love, to pair this with New Nude, especially these colors here and these shimmers are just fantastic. Huda's large palettes I can't speak. Huda palettes should not be slept on. This is the newest to my collection. I got this last fall. It seems like it might be being discontinued, which is unfortunate. This is Mercury Retrograde. And I really like this one. Like, these are so unique. This is really unique. I did a nice, like, purpley look with this. Like, I used these shades and then this one. Beautiful. I would like to get the rest of her palettes. First, we have Urban Decay Moondust. You've heard me go on and on and on about these if you've seen any of my other videos. I'm glad they brought back some Moondust shades because these, I can't get over them. Let's just admire the beauty. Oh, so pretty. I can't. I'm so glad Eric just randomly bought this for me thinking I would like it because I would cherish it forever. Then we have the original Naked palette. I don't know what to say. Just a classic. Starting to appreciate the simplicity. like that Nars palette where I can't sit here and do an hour-long eyeshadow look. I just have to like 2 shadows and be done. And I have the Naked 2. Good lord. I also like this, but I think I like the original Naked more, but I don't think the original Naked has this black in it. No, it doesn't. So this one actually has a matte black, which I appreciate because you get 3 mattes. And then we have my very first high-end eyeshadow palette, the Naked 3. My most used. I have used this for all of my special occasions, and it is very near and dear to my heart. Next, Urban Decay Heat. This is one of my favorite fall palettes. I love this color story. It looks great on me. It looks great with my eye color. Highly recommend if they still make it. I never know what Urban Decay is going to discontinue. And my last Urban Decay is the Naked Honey palette. This has not gotten as much love as it should have because it got a little buried. And I love this because it is mostly mattes, or at least it's a 50-50 split. And the colors just look quite nice on me. We are now on to my last category. And this is probably the brand I have the most from, aside from ColourPop. I don't know, I didn't count. And it's ABH. Let's start with these Norvina palettes. This is the volume 3. I love this because this is just such an inspiring color story. It's just really fun and it reminds me of like the 60s and 70s. And I will say, like, a lot of people don't like the formula of these Norvina palettes. I think this one is really good. Now, what I'm not sure about is the Pro 6. I got this free to review, and it didn't perform amazing. And, like, these shades were kind of weird. Like, this one is a pressed glitter, but it feels like it's in, like, Vaseline. I don't know, it's really weird. Before I declutter it, I want to give it more of a shot, but it wasn't the easiest to work with. Then we have one of my all-time favorite palettes, the Norvina palette. You can tell she's been pretty used, especially this rose gold shade is probably my favorite. I like pair these two, throw some of this in the corner, and out the door. This one is new to me, also received free to review. This is the Nouveau Palette. I actually really like this. It is incredibly messy and crumbly, and I hate this shade. It actually doesn't look horrible. Like, if I swatch some of this and then add this, like, it's not the worst, but I still wish they would have swapped this for like a matte brown. There's no matte brown in here. I don't know. Cell Culture. This also survived the declutter mainly because of electric. I mean, I love the whole palette, but electric just cannot be replaced. Soft Glam, another absolute favorite. This one is pretty new. I only got it last year, but it shot to the top of my favorite palettes of all time because this is a great nude for me because it's warm nudes, which I'm obsessed with. Modern Renaissance, I have only used a handful of times, and I'm still trying to decide how I feel about this color story on me. I feel like some of it comes out darker than I am intending it to come out. Again, I got these two at the same time, so they are fairly new. I still want to play with it. I decluttered a dupe in favor for this one just because I like the formula of this a little bit better. Riviera purely survived for these shimmers. Well, that's not a shimmer. These shimmers, because they are top notch. The mattes are not great, especially this purple. It is incredibly hard to work with. But those shimmers I use frequently. And my last palette of my whole collection is the Jackie Aina. I am no longer a fan of Jackie Aina, but I cannot deny that this is one of the best palettes. Sponsored is very similar, but not identical to that probed shade from you know who's Alien palette. These are great though. These mattes are fantastic. The shimmers, I really like this Dwalas. I can't say it. Like, they're so soft and so pigmented. I love this palette so much. It is one of my favorites. And with that, off to outro me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. These are one of my favorite videos to do, so please let me know if you make a palette collection video. I watch so many of them. And I will see you guys next time.